and culture today with regards to that. It has not revived. The running base is what we found. We wait 1 more minute. Classes. Don't worry about it. Waited on that because that is. So on Saturday, what we did was, this is actually in a way the first class of art and culture. It shows lecture number 3, lecture number 2 only. It does not show lecture number 3. It shows art and culture lecture number 2. Lecture number 1 was on Saturday, and we discussed Bhakti Sufi as a. This is a theme out of Bhakti. Sufi is a theme out of art and culture only. And we have previously also seen a question coming in the mains examination from this area. So it is actually art and culture only. Now, one thing should be very, very clear. Nitin Singhania, what to do with it, this and that, I will tell you. Wait, we have to reach till that point. Maniam, I can see your message. How to read Nitin Singhania, I will tell you that. First, let me finish the Bhakti part, and then we go to the true sense of art and culture, which is architecture and all. So I will tell you, that is not an issue. I joined this first lecture of art and culture. You see, whoever has not gone through Saturday, for you the first half an hour or maybe that half an hour 45 minutes will be a problem, because we are discussing something we already discussed, which is Sufi Bhakti. Sufism already done. Bhaktism we only have to do the descriptive part. Once we start the architecture space, that is truly module number 1 of art and culture. So please be very clear. That is how we go about it. Okay. And Nitin Singhania, read how this, that. Is it necessary to read Nitin Singhania? Show us a certain amount of patience, and I will tell you that. So don't have to worry about that in that sense. Okay. Now, is it necessary? Is it not necessary? When to read? When not to read? All these questions will be answered. So what we had established on Saturday before we break around 3:40, 3:35 itself, was that Bhakti and Sufi have certain intersections and have certain dissimilarities. But what we also saw was that Bhakti movement, I also told you, had two manifestations. First is the 7th century South Indian Bhakti, and thereafter you have the 13th, 14th century North Indian Bhakti. People tend to not know that the first time it manifested itself was in South India, Alava Naina tradition, and thereafter North India through the Marathi saints such as Tukaram, Namdev, and Gyaneshwar. So, what we are trying to do here is, we are first going to discuss this, then we are going to discuss this, and I have also a discussion on the major saints in that regard. So, what we established was that Bhakti movement, in a way, personalized religion. It made it more what we call as personalization of religion. 1 second. Yes. What we had established was personalization of religion. What we had further established was the fact that we have religion was about devotion and faith, and we have also established one more important thing, which is that gender and caste notions both were challenged. So we established this. Now we need to see that I'm not repeating it again, because if you've not gone through the pain of, or being courteous enough to watch the Saturday video with 1 day off, I'm not going to do that. Simple point: personalization of religion. Religion was about devotion to faith, and gender and caste notions were challenged. We discussed the basic tenets. We discussed the base. If you remember, if the students were there in class, they would remember the last thing we discussed was a Venn diagram. So I presume that you've gone through. If you have not gone through, you should go through. If you don't plan to go through it, no issues. If you plan to go through it, very good. So the simple point is, I start with the Allavar Nainar tradition and discuss what was the context in which Allavar Nainars are going to rise. Now in South India, is the origin of the Bhakti movement. Can anybody tell me why would South India be a space in which Bhakti movement would become actually quite relevant? Why would Bhakti movement rise in South India first? Stability, most number of temples, Shaivism, language, Brahmins given grant, Hinduism based due to peace and safe haven. No, that is not true. That is actually not true. The reason is because in South India, the temples are the most powerful, most orthodox, and very strict with rules. So in a way, Brahmanical power social exclusion and caste and gender discrimination are the strongest. Yes or no? We have Sabrimala as an issue today. We have a temple entry movement issue in the national movement period. We have Vaikom Satyagraha. We have Sri Narayan Guru issue itself. We have, if you look at it, all anti-Brahmanical movements start in South India first, because of the fact that the strongest power of the temples and the Brahmins itself was in South India. Until today, it is quite true that temples still today in South India are extremely powerful. And therefore, the social exclusion part of not allowing the lower caste, not allowing the women to be part of certain temple rituals or certain temples itself was going to be something which was going to impact everybody and everyone and generally all communities in South India first. Now, one reason becomes this, which is that the environment is quite fertile to do what we think of as Bhakti movement as a concept of Brahmanical movement. Now, the second reason is that in 7th century, something happened in North India during the Gupta post-Gupta period to Hinduism. What did it do? What is this period of? Very good. It is the period of Puranic Hinduism. Now, with rise of Puranic Hinduism, which two religions basically start to lose out? Brahman's gender description is prevalent whole India. Why only in South? More prevalent, more strict in South. Nobody is saying it is not in North. So, Buddhism, Jainism are the ones which basically start to lose out very quickly in the northern sector because of Puranic Hinduism. So where will they go if they're actually getting beaten by, in a way, by Puranic Hinduism? Where will they go if they will get challenged? They'll go to South. And therefore, the second point is that in South India, Buddhism and Jainism was becoming more prevalent, and more than that, it was becoming more and more aggressive. So they were now criticizing Hinduism, saying that it is exclusionary, this and that, what they had done in North. Now, based on these two ideas, there are two movements which start within two different forms of God. One is the Nayanars, who are the devotees of Shiva, and the other one are the Allavars, who are the devotees of Lord Vishnu, who came from different castes, but specifically lower castes, even from untouchable castes. And they were sharply critical of the way Buddhism, Jainism was trying to divide the people and create a narrative that Hinduism should be shunned and there should be a new way, which is Buddhist way. However, what the Allavars and Nayanars set out to prove was that God is not discriminatory. It is the institutions. And therefore, if we go out of these institutions, we get personal devotion. And in personal devotion, there are no obstacles. So basically, it is the orthodoxy of the temples, and second, the other issue. Yeah, I know that audio is muted. I only muted it. So Allavar Nayanars set out to prove that it is not what Hinduism you think it is something else. So please remember that the Buddhist Jain connection with regards to how they were becoming aggressive explains most of the issues in why Allavar and Nayanars are going to rise. Now, they wrote in vernacular languages. They wrote in Tamil also. They wrote in Malayalam. They wrote in Kannada. And they were writing about love and heroism as written during the Sangam period itself. But Allavar Nayanars, what they did was that they wrote these poems, and they used to move from village to village and singing in the praise of God. See, there are two things which you need to understand very quickly. We'll talk about this data later. There are two things which you need to understand very clearly. Puranic Hinduism had already become Puranic Hinduism had already become very, very popular in North, spreading to South. There were two major followings in South India, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. And when the Jains and the Buddhists come, they start to criticize all three, saying that these three are actually based on discrimination. So, very simply, the Jain, Buddhist, Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Puranic, all Shaivites or Vaishnavites were being criticized. Now, for the Brahmins, it did not really matter. But the untouchables, the women, the lower castes, they set out upon themselves to prove with more and more people from the untouchable community, from the lower caste community going towards Buddhism. These devout Allavars and Nayanars wanted to prove that God does not discriminate. So please understand this point. The Brahmin community, the Orthodox community still does not do anything. It is the communities out of which the constituency for Buddhism, Jainism is being created. It is from there that a response comes. That no, Hinduism is also not what you think, but rather it is more open than what you think. Lower caste is a bigger word. Untouchable is a generic word within lower caste itself. Lower caste, varna, these are words which are used interchangeably but are not the same actually. Okay. Now, when we talk about lower caste and untouchable, aren't they the same? No, not all lower caste are untouchables. All untouchables are in lower caste, but lower caste is also a wrong word. Lower varna, depressed class is the word which is used for all of them. Now, there were 63 Nayanar saints who belong to different caste backgrounds: potters, untouchables, workers, peasants, hunters, soldiers. Even some Brahmins became Nayanars. And the most known are Apar, Sambandhar, Sundrar, and Malikavasagar. And there are two sets of compilations which we see, what is called Tevaram and Thiruvakam. These two texts are actually the songs of the Nayanars. There are less Allavars which are Lord Vishnu devotees, wherein you have only 12, and you have Periyavar, then Andal, his daughter, and you have Tondrapodi Allavar and Nama Allavar, who are the most known. And their songs have been compiled into a text called Divya Prabandham. Initially, they will roam around, but they will become so popular under the Cholas that later their own temples will also be made. The Allavar and Nayanar ones. You have to learn these names. You should know them because they can be asked in match the following. The simple point is, Allavars and Nayanars were the ones who made Bhakti movement more ubiquitous. And by the time we come to the imperial Cholas or the later Cholas, what happens is that the Chola kings themselves become very interestingly embroidered or influenced by Allavars and Nayanars. Now, if you have seen, for example, I don't think you would have. If you've seen the movie, for example, PS1 and PS2, the one which is the South Indian story about that story which is related to the Chola dynasty itself. If you haven't, sure, that's not point. You would see that in both PS1 and PS2, there is a reference to an Allavar and a Nayanar. In PS1 itself, when he is traveling, Ponniyin Selvan, when he is traveling to meet the princess, he gets in contact with one of the Allavars, the Allavar Kartik, or what we call as Kariyar. So basically, there's a reference to, even in the text of this period and in the Chola period, Allavars and Nayanars were very, very common, specifically Allavars. So to be very, very clear, when we talk about Allavar Nayanars, both very, very important, and in a way change the whole dynamism of the story, of this, not of the story, but of Hinduism itself. Now, what I want to do is, I want to show you or give two references of women Allavar and Nayanars, and also I want you to see how they used to compose a poem. Because what they are known to have done is personalization, complete surrender, and the concept of how the life of a person could change via bhakti. So, when we talk about the Allavars, Andal was a very important woman Allavar, and she expressed her love to Lord Vishnu through her poems. While on the other hand, in the Nayanars, you have Karikal Amiyar, who was a very, very towards renunciant tradition, and she's the one who even went to the level of the alternative nun order, in the sense she went into austerity also. Now, please understand one thing, Ramya, that question, temple culture or bhakti came first. You tell me what is the answer to that question. You are not understanding one thing, that the temple structure is there. The temple structure is there. They emerge as two criticisms, and later, therefore, the temple culture itself will change. Please understand this point. You think of bhakti as a random thing. Bhakti is rising within Hinduism. It will rise obviously later. How can bhakti come first? Bhakti movement rises from within Hinduism and then becomes a major strand of thinking, and later impacts everybody and changes temple traditions also. Again, most of you are acting like you don't know what is bhakti. You do it yourself every day, but you are acting like you don't know bhakti. That bhakti movement is devotion to God outside the temple. You do it every day. So Allavar Nayanars are the first one who challenged this notion that going to the temple is something which is necessary to be devout Hindu or do something. Bhakti is a devotion to God which is not specifically mitigated by a Brahmin. It is not specific to mitigation. It is outside that. And therefore, you see how their compositions used to talk about. You see, I read out to you a Malikava Sagar poem, and you see how they talk about their devotion. See, everybody wants salvation. Salvation, again, I don't know. How many of you have the non-Gajini effect to remember what is moksha and salvation, which we did in Buddhism, Jainism, which was the third class. The fact is, everybody wants salvation. Everybody wants moksha. And the way to moksha here is how you are giving complete surrender to God. So everybody, even Hinduism, is about bhakti. Bhakti say moksha. You get bhakti. If you do proper bhakti, you will get moksha automatically. So it is in a way of getting moksha only. So the point is that previously moksha was only available within the temples. Now it is outside that temple. It is in your own household. You can connect with God. So Malikava Sagar, you see how he is talking about his devotion to God. He said, "Into my vile body of flesh, you came as though it was a temple of gold, and soothed me wholly and saved me. O Lord of grace, O gem most pure, sorrow, birth, death, illusion, you took away from me, set me free. O bliss, O light, I have taken refuge in you, and never can I be parted from you." Basically, this is the devotion they show. Complete surrender to God. And they believe that with complete surrender, they can get in a way, salvation. But what is common to Allavars and Nayanars is that as much as being a Allavar Nayanar, there's a prerequisite. And the prerequisite is you have to be an ascetic. Ascetic means saint. Saint. Which is that you can't be in home, but Allavar Nayanars were mostly saints who used to travel around. So as of right now, what is bhakti is the Allavar Nayanar tradition challenges the notions of the temple, challenges Buddhism and Jainism, and talk about personal devotion, but outside the household as a saint. Are we clear about this? Yes? Okay. Now, based on the ideas of bhakti, there were multiple saints who also emerged with new ideas. Now, the most common is this whole set of saints who were like the connecting link to the Marathi saints, and then from Marathi saints to North India. You have Shankaracharya, you have Ramanujacharya, you have Madhavacharya, you have Nimbarka, you have Vallabhacharya. Now, they are important because they have certain ideas, which today become a very important part of Hinduism generally. Now, there are two things. See, as soon as you talk about Shankaracharya, now please pay attention. Why bhakti would take 700 years to reach north? Because Allava Nayanar texts are written in Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam. And therefore, North India, even if the text reach north, nobody knows how to read it. So it is the Marathi saints who basically first learn or actually imbibe or take into the idea of bhakti, and they transmit it. That takes 700 years. Which is that this transmission is in Telugu also. It is because of the language barrier in that regard. And generally, these ideas would take time to get assimilated. Now, as I was saying, see, there are three things you need to understand very clearly. As soon as I say Shankaracharya, as soon as I say, for example, Ramanujacharya, then this word comes through. Advaita, Dvaita, Advaita, Dvaita, all these etas. Now, to be very precise, I will teach you this in the concept of 6 schools of philosophy, wherein you have Sankhya, Nyaya, Yoga, Vaisheshika, this and that. Because to understand Advaita, you need to understand Dvaita first. And that is a discussion which mostly will take 1.5 hours, proper, pure learning. So what I want from you here is, because bhakti in a way is connected in that sense to it, what I want from you is very simple, straightforward thing. I'm going to make a table. With that table, you can answer any question. And from that question, or that table, mostly all questions can generally be answered. However, the concept of what is Advaita, Dvaita, this, that, I'll tell you that when I'll have a discussion of 6 schools of philosophy. This is an agreement we have to go into, because that discussion I cannot have here. Right now, I'm going to just condense everything, put it into a notes type table. We will have by the 5th or 6th class, maybe not this week, but next week for sure, by maybe next Monday, we'll have a proper conversation about Advaita, Dvaita, this, that, Purusha, Prakriti, because as it is, it's a very bad chapter. It is in Nitin Singhania. Can we agree on this? Because I don't want any question, what is Advaita, what is monoism? Don't ask me these questions. I just want to give you something which you can use. Please tell briefly now. Joseph, the problem is briefly. How briefly? I'll read it out to you. You tell me how briefly you can understand. It says, the reality of the world is denied. Brahma or Brahman is considered the only reality. The only Brahma as its base as given as reality. Now, I don't know if you know what is reality. I don't know what you know as Brahma. So, if you really want to go this way, then how brief you want me to be is on your intellect level. So, what this drama which you do briefly bata do, that doesn't work. Because the point is, you don't know what is Dvaita. If you don't know what is Dvaita, Advaita will also not make sense to you. So when I say something, I say it because I mean it. So understand this point. These are big words. For example, it will say the Bheda philosophy. For example, God is Sagun Brahman and the creative process, including the objects of creation, are real, not illusionary as held as Shankaracharya. Now the problem is, you don't know what this Brahma means, what this Sagun means, this creative process means, what is real, illusionary, what is Maya. For that, we have to go into 6 schools of philosophy. And that is not the route I want to take right now, because I want to reach architecture, and when it will come, I will reach there as 6 schools of philosophy as a big topic. So, peering through the whatever your basic idea is, I am now going to make that table, which is important for you for the examination. Any factual question can be done from there. 6 schools of philosophy, you will have the expertise to also understand what is Advaita, Dvaita. So, I am now going to do what I need to do. It is like Mithya Satya type. I don't know what you mean by those words. If you even know what that meaning is, what is that meaning? Problem is this only. Most of you know what you know, but is mostly wrong. That is the problem here. Okay. As it is, students become quite emotional in these sections. They try to find meaning of life in these discussions. अच्छा मोक्ष मिल जाएगा, अच्छा ऐसे मिल जाएगा. How should I get it? Where is the offer? How will I get to know? So I have multiple disclaimers there also. Because Astha channel I don't run, I run history class. So we don't know the meaning of these words, sir. That is the beauty of it. Just learn it. Right. The more I will tell you, the more you will become philosophy. It's pure philosophy, literal philosophy. Literal philosophy. Saint, main idea, contributions. In last we have previous year questions, sir. वो भी कर लेंगे. And talking about something, your issue is something else. वो भी हो जाए. Everything is on the menu. It will come as per it should come. Okay. Now the first is Shankaracharya. Now when we talk about Shankaracharya, he is the one who is actually related to how what we call today as Sanatan Dharma, or within Hinduism, this bhakti related or bhakti inspired concept remains. And he, after being born in Kerala, propounded a concept of what is called Advaita. Now, Advaita basically denies what, for example, Yoga or Sankhya or Vaisheshika will say, that the reality is two, which is God and rather spirit and body. They talk about only God, that the ultimate truth, the only truth in the world is God, nothing else. Yes, Adi Shankara, the same person. Now in Advaita, as I said, the world is denied only Brahma, or Brahma here means God, and knowledge is the way to salvation. Knowledge is the way to salvation. Now, what you write here is very simple, straightforward, simple point. Advaita. And now you have to write the contributions, which is what comes in match the following. What are the texts he produced? So, for example, the Upadesha Sari, the Vivek Chudamani, the Bhaja Govindam Shotra are authored by Shankaradeva or Shankaracharya, and along with that, the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutra, and the Upanishads commentaries he wrote, which is that he wrote about them in how he understood them. So what you do is very simply, you write Upadesh and Bhaja Govindam. Now, this is the only thing you need to know. Out of this table, this much, you can answer any factual question. You can remember and answer any factual question. Should I have to remember all the names in the PPT? It is pretty difficult. I don't know, Pratik, where were you? The ones I mark is important, and everything is difficult if you look at it that way. Everything is difficult if you look at it that way. Advaita means Vaishnavi, I'm ignoring you. I already told you, I cannot tell you that. For that, you need to understand first Dvaita. So that cannot happen. Okay. Now you have the next important personality, Ramanujacharya or Ramanuja. Now he comes from the same school as Shankaracharya, born in Chennai, which is the concept of here the questions more come in the prelims examination. The mains questions are mostly theoretical. I will tell you that. I will show you those questions. Questions do come, but they will never be about write a short note on Ramanujacharya. That is not how it is asked. Sir, monoism means one God, but again, you are not capable of understanding that, because you have to understand duality first, then you will understand monoism. So again, puja cannot be understood right now, as of right now. Now, Ramanujacharya comes from the same ideas of Shankaracharya, but he had a different emphasis. His ideas are called, it is Advaita, but he adds another idea which is called qualified monoism, wherein Vishisht means, see, to be very crude, Shankaracharya says all souls are the same, all Atma is same, but Ramanujacharya says no, every soul is not the same, every soul has a certain characteristic, which is called Vishisht Advaita. So now the question is that this is where I don't want to get caught up into the philosophical aspect. Rather, Ramanujacharya Vishisht Advaita. This much you remember right now. Later I'll tell you what it means. What it means. Now, as I said, he says that not everything is illusionary. There is something called reality also. And that is where he was, in a way, the opposite of Shankara, but at the same point in time, similar. He believed that God, soul, matter, all are real, but God is the only truth in that regard. He advocated what is called the Prabhati Marg, which is the path of self-surrender to God itself, which is pure bhakti. And he wrote the following text: the Sri Bhashya, Vedanta Deepa, Gita Bhashya, and Vedanta Sara. Now, very simply, we add here Prabhati Marg, Prabhati Marg. Thereafter, you have Sri Bhashya, Vedanta Deepa, Gita Bhashya, Vedanta Sastra. This is it. This is how you actually should deal with this area. But most of the students get caught up into the philosophy. Okay. Thereafter, we have Madhavacharya and Nimbarkar. Madhavacharya, writing in Kannada, talked about Dvaita, which is dualism, Jivatma, Paramatma, meaning physical and the illusionary or the spiritual. And according to him, the world is not an illusion, but is basically full of distractions. But you can see the real truth, which is God. And God, soul, matter, all are in part of nature and are all intertwined with each other. And he founded the Brahma or the Brahma Samrataya, what we have seen as Brahma worship in Pushkar. He is related to that. So, Madhavacharya, Dvaita, Brahma Sampradaya or group. Nimbarka is a younger contemporary. We have to deal with this area same way we do with socialist form. Yes. He was a younger contemporary of Ramanujacharya and he propounded another concept which is Dvaita Advaita and the concept of Bheda Abheda. And he believed that the world and Brahma are equally real. The world is part of Brahma and it's about emphasis. Again, for you, Nimbarka, Dvaita Advaita and Bheda Abheda philosophy. Because in the examination, they will not ask you to explain this, but rather, Pushkar is the name. Yes, Pushkar is a place. Thereafter, you just have to match the following or associate these things with each other. Then you have the last, which is Vallabhacharya. Vallabhacharya, born in Benares from a Telugu Brahmin family. He is a very, very, very devout bhakt of Lord Krishna. He used to call him Srinathji. And he is the one who founded the Pushti Marg. It teaches how to do self-surrender to God. So, Vallabhacharya, Pushti Marg. This much you can manage. This much you can manage. Now, I give you a breather. I leave you on this slide. Learn in those 5 minutes. And thereafter, we go through the saints very quickly and end this topic. This is the only difficult part. After this, we have the Lingayats, and then we go to the Marathi saints. Then we go to the North Indian saints. North Indian saints, one line you need to know about everybody. Contribution, nothing generally. A breather here, and we start again. Then I want 45 minutes of proper concentration again. Can I expect that? When there is a dash, means there is no contribution. Okay. So we come back at 51 and we'll take the story forward. Written is not readable. Very good. Beautiful. Perfect. Now we need to go to Bhakti main ideology. We understood Allavars and Nayanars. And now we've understood the saints related to Advaita and Dvaita philosophy. You will know by the end of this course what does Advaita Dvaita mean. Don't worry about that. Now we need to go to the different ways in which the different ways in which the Bhakti philosophy manifested itself. And here you have what are called the Veera Shivas or Lingayats. Thereafter you have Marathi saints. And then you have North Indian Bhakti. Why Bhakti evolved in South India first? Did it emerge parallelly to Puranic Hinduism? In a way, parallelly. Why? Because South India temples are very strong, very orthodox, and Buddhism, Jainism were trying to rise in the context of losing out in North India. Okay. Now the first standard question which is asked in the examination is about Basavana's Veerashaivism. And there are 2 to 3 facts which they always play with. Standard. First is that Basavana, who's the one who started Veerashaivism, the heroes of Shiva, also called the Lingayats. So there's a sub judice case in Supreme Court. I will not say it right now. Lingayats generally argue that they're not part of Hinduism. The other argument that they're part of the Hinduism. The Supreme Court has to take a call on that. We are no one to say anything about it. We believe it. We take it as a part of. We take it as a part of the Bhakti movement itself. The first is that what was the dynasty out of which he came out? And here the answer is Kalchuri. So Basavana was basically a minister of the Kalchuri rulers. Kalchuris are again small feudatory rulers in the southern sector. This please remember, because this is what they play with. They will write Kakatiya, they will write Kadamba, they will write something or the other. It is Kalchuri. So he himself was a minister of this ruler. You don't need to know the name of the ruler, but you just need to know that this is a Kalchuri ruler first. This is the first place where they ask you. I'm discussing prelims. Mains, there have been no questions on these specifically. Thereafter, Lingayats are the first to be considered as social reformers, because their ideas were much beyond what other bhakti people were talking about. Rather, it is more related to much bigger discussion related to social reform. For example, they challenge caste, that is something standard. They also question the theory of rebirth for punya. They are the ones who actually advocated post puberty marriage, which means no child marriages, and second, remarriage of widows. These are two very standard things which we see in the colonial period, but they have been talked about by the Lingayats. And the text which they refer to is called the Vachanas and is composed in Kannada by women who had joined the movement. Now, a very interesting thing about Lingayats is that most in Hinduism you cremate. Cremate means you burn the person or burn the dead body. They are buried. They bury their dead. Like in Christianity or Islam. These are the 3 points at which they basically play within the exam. Kalchuri, social reformers, what do they challenge, and bury their dead. Other than that, nothing. Other than that, nothing. How different words to learn? Learn them, open your eyes, look at them, learn it, write it, learn it, write it, revise. How you learn polity, how you learn economics, how you learn geography, the same way you learn history also. Exact same, no other difference. So, Veerashaivism is a very interesting manifestation of bhakti in the Karnataka sector in Kannada. Now come the linkages. Now come the linkages or the linkers, which is Marathi saints. Marathi saints, Gyaneshwar written in different spellings everywhere. Namdev, Eknath, and Tukaram. These are very important saints who were able to understand what the Allavar Nayanars were saying. At the same point of time, they also were able to disseminate these ideas to North India, but and even Chokhamela. Very important point. Very, very, very important point. In Allavar Nayanar, be it Shankaradeva, be it Lingayats, be it everybody, there was a prerequisite that if you want to be a devotee of God, if you want to do bhakti, what was a prerequisite? If you want to do bhakti, what was the prerequisite? How will you get salvation if you are bhakti? You have to become an ascetic or you have to become a saint. That you have to give up everything, which is renunciation was considered a prerequisite for bhakti. Now, what the Marathi saints say is that I don't need to renounce my family, my wife, my children, my life to do bhakti. And this is very, very interesting because what Veerashaivism argues or Bhaktism argues is God does not just come to them who give up everything. The argument is that as a bhakti saint, I don't need to be a renunciate. And that is why till today, this is what today we see in our own Bhaktism or our own Hinduism, that we don't have to give up on anything. You can be a trader, you can be anybody, but you have to just show your faith to God. So while South Indian Bhakti, Allava Nayana tradition, renunciation was considered very, very important. Bhakti saints, whilst also disseminating to North India, were also the ones who actually changed everything by actually rejecting all ritualisms, outward expression of piety, and rejecting the idea of renunciation and preferred to live a life with their families, and their manifestation is related to Vitthal. Very, very important. A form of Lord Vishnu, avatar of Lord Vishnu. And all of these personalities were very, very important in disseminating information to North India, which in turn will lead to a whole set of new North Indian saints and what are called Hindavi saints. Hindavi is basically a mixture of Hindi, Braj Bhasha and other dialects of North India. Sometimes even Urdu. So, what I've established to you is South Indian Bhakti, Allah Varnayana, renunciation important. Marathi saints, Eknath, Tukaram, we will discuss them also. They will talk renunciation, not important. And then will come North Indian Bhakti, which is based on Ramanand and his a lot of his disciples only. In North India, we have Vitthal. Maharashtra Vitthal is very, very important. Very, very important God. Like Jagannath temple, Vitthal temple, very, very important. Can we talk about Ramananda? Can we talk about Ramananda, Kabir, and the North Indian Bhaktis? Is everybody with me till this point? Yes? Okay. Last 10-15 minutes and then we'll end this topic. Now, when we talk about Ramananda, he is the one who says that all men are equal in the eyes of God. Men, he says, means women also. And he is called Ram Bhakti. Ram Bhakti. And most important, he's a Sagun Bhakti, Sagun saint. Sagun means that he has given a form to his God, and that is Lord Ram. And that is Lord Ram. So renunciation is same as salvation. No, renunciation means to give up everything. What Buddha did. Renunciation is to become a saint. Are this? No. Marathi saints will discuss separately. These are the North Indian saints. Eknath Tukaram I will discuss with you separately. But this is Ramananda is the first major Bhakti saint to develop in North, which in turn will lead to one of his most popular, which is Kabir was one of his most popular followers. Now, he welcomed people of all castes, status to follow his teachings. And he had 12 disciples. Did North India Bhakti reject renunciation? Obviously. But once Bhakti movement goes to Maharashtra, it changes forever. Now, he welcomed all castes and he had 12 major disciples. Out of that 12 major disciples, Kabir and a woman called Padmavati are two very famous ones. And this brings us to Kabir. Kabir, Raidas also, yes. This list is only the one which you have to know and are mentioned in the NCERT. There is a very long list of saints. There's no end to it. Now, Kabir is an example of non-devotional Nirgun Bhakti. Non-devotional Nirgun Bhakti. Why? Because he did not give his God any form, and he is the one who changed the way, Kabir Das says, he is the one who changed the way we see society, because he is the one who is based on social commentary. You would have heard about the Dohas of Kabir. Most of the Dohas of Kabir were actually commentary on society. Were commentaries on society. Coming from a Muslim Julaha family, and his origin that way is quite questioned. The simple point is Kabir Das. Yes, Kabir Das. Doha, Kabir Doha. Same. Question mark, yes. So, when we say Kabir, it is not Kabir Das. Not no other Kabir you should know other than this. Now, he talked about social commentary. And he is so popular that he is mentioned in the Guru Granth Sahib, in the Panchwani, and his followers wrote a text called Byjus, in which he is talked about. He never compiled anything. It is his followers who compiled everything. He is one of the disciples of Ramananda, and he used to write what are called Pads, Sakhis, Dohas, through which he gave a very interesting picture. And the picture was he criticized both Hindus and Muslims and their ritualisms. And he targeted the idea that there are multiple religious discords or conflicts. He believed that all forms of eternal God are the same. Ram, Rahim are the same. He chose the ordinary language of the people, and sometimes in very cryptic language used to always criticize the Pandits and the Maulvis. And he argued that be it Allah, be it Ishwar, be it Ram, Rahim, everybody is the same. And his followers called Kabir Panthis wrote the Bijak later, in which both the Hindus and the Muslims used to follow him. This is the power of Kabir, that he was followed by both Hindus and Muslims. Now, Kabir, remember, any time when they say devotional poetry, never ever talk about Kabir. Kabir is not a devotional poet. This should be very clear in your mind. Because Kabir is a social commentary one. For him, all people are the same. All are made by God, and everybody else who is trying to explain something else to you is trying to put you into a different space altogether. Are we clear about Kabir? Because this helps in elimination. This helps in elimination. Are we clear? Okay, now the way Bijak is a text. क्या होता है? नहीं, it's a text. Bijak is a text. Devotional and non-devotional mean. Wow. But somebody tell what is devotional, what is non-devotional. Social critique equals to Kabir. Devotional का मतलब bhakti related to God. On the other hand, non-devotional is social commentary. Okay, now Sri Chaitanya, born in the eastern sector, Bengal, he is quite important for one thing, which is bhajan and kirtan. The bhajan kirtan which we do today is actually a product of how Sri Chaitanya actually made it very acceptable and common. Wherein from the very childhood, great interest in education and Sanskrit, age of 24, became a sannyasi, traveled all across, and Lord Vishnu, he used to actually worship in Bengal. He's even considered a avatar of Lord Vishnu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you call, some people call him. He is opposed to, again, caste, tolerance, humility, and love he talks about. But bhajan kirtan, which is kirtan, sankirtan, singing in the name of God, is something which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Chaitanya made very common, very common. Thereafter, you have one of the ones who is actually in the news quite a lot these days, which is Tulsidas. He is the one who is known to have the Janki Mangal and the Parvati Mangal and the Ramayana in Hindavi. And he talked about son's duty to father, and a duty of a teacher and student, a king and his disciple, his what we call as praja or citizens. And he talks about that in his text quite a lot, other than the Ramayana. Thereafter, you have Guru Ramdas, Tukaram, Gyaneshwar, all three Maharashtra. But Guru Ramdas is very important because Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself used to follow him. And therefore, the idea is bhakti, everybody is the same. And Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was influenced by Guru Ramdas quite a lot. Tukaram and his Abhagyas are also considered very important in Maharashtra. Till today, when we talk about tolerance, when we talk about openness, when we talk about God is kind, merciful, and protection, we talk about Tukaram. Gyaneshwar Ji sometimes also is used. He is known to be the greatest saints of Maharashtra generally because his students became very popular later. He has translated the Bhagavad Gita to the Marathi language itself, which is called Gyaneshwari. And Gyaneshwar, in that regard, is the first to create a spirit of bhakti in this sector. Thereafter, you have Dadu Dayal, who is the disciple of Kabir. Dadu Panthis or Dadu Ram Ki Bani is the text he wrote, and his people who followed him, like Kabir Panthis, Dadu Panthis. And then we have the most miraculous and most popular today, Mirabai. Now, Mirabai, when she was herself there, she was not very popular. She did not have followers, and she actually roamed around in the name of Krishna. Later, she became a symbol of Krishna Bhakti, Sagun Bhakti, and we believe and we know that she was a Rajput princess from Mirta in Marwar, who was married against her wishes to the Sisodia clan in Mewar. And we believe that she did not have the right marital life, and she always argued that she had already married to Lord Krishna, and therefore her in-laws tried to poison her, but it is believed that God saved her. And once she was saved from this episode, she started to wander around, sing in the name of Lord Krishna. And when she was alive, she was not very popular. Later, she was actually considered a very important symbol of Bhaktism generally. Now, with this, see, I'm going to do two things. This is a map of all the different saints, where they were active, not where they were born, where they were active first. And second, I've given you this, which is all women saints in one place. With this, we finish last module of medieval, or the first module of what we call as art and culture, which is Bhakti Sufi. And what I want to do now is very simply start the first module of art and culture, which is basically architecture. But before that, I want to introduce art and culture to you. Can I do that? Can I successfully say that Bhakti Sufi is clear? The PPT has been made specifically very heavy because mains questions can come. I will show you the mains questions. They are actually not very specific to any sect or any person. It is generic. They've already asked the question in 2019, so we don't expect a question in the next 2 to 5 years. The simple point is Bhakti Sufi. See the Saturday video, see this one, and it should be complete. I want to introduce, and we will then move forward. Can I do that? There is only 2 to 3 lines on these saints, because that is what is enough to write or to answer any question related to any prelims question. Mains question, nobody is asking you write a short note on Tulsidas. That has not come. If it comes, then we see what we do. If you will start to do a thesis, it will actually become a problem. This is where two places where people get caught up. One, Bhakti Sufi, they start to go into proper Sufism. Bhaktism, they start to go into each and every person, every life story. I don't care. Simple point is UPSC level, GS level, this is a discussion. Bhakti Sufi can be taught for 1 hour also, 5 hours also, 15 hours also, 3 days also. Can I now transition to art and culture? Can we do that? This is from where your Nitin Singhania starts in a way. Nitin Singhania, Bhakti Sufi is not there. Can we start? I want everybody's yes. Okay. Now, see, when we talk about history, you have ancient, medieval, art and culture, modern, world, post-independence. Now, out of this, these two are pure PT. These two are pure mains. Modern and art and culture are PT plus mains. Can I take notes for art and culture? PPT is enough. First, what do you want to hear from me? That only read the PPT, do not do anything else. I'm not that dumb, and I will never say that. Because if you have 2024, maybe sure. For 2025, 26, 27, 28, reading other books is important. At least one more than this is okay. If you will say, no, sir, I don't want to do anything, I am not committed to doing anything, then I will say, okay, PPT is enough. So most of you ask me the same thing everywhere. Is PPT enough? Sure. But should you read another book over and above it? Sure. Is it ideal? Yes. Can you do it? Yes. But if you don't want to do it, then you quote me. then you can quote it. Simple point. Simple point. Are the PPTs enough? Yes. For prelims, mains, everything. But reading one book will not kill you. So one extra book for revision is okay. Can I now talk about art and culture? Okay. Now art and culture is PT plus mains. But there's a problem. And the problem is that not everything in art and culture is mains level. And not everything is just PT. What students have a major issue with is, without doing ancient medieval, they start art and culture. This is the endeavor to start ancient medieval first and then do art and culture. Because Nitin Singhania, 110% right now is taking the dust because you picked that up before doing ancient medieval. That book is problematic, sure, but it is a necessary evil. Because CCRT website, NCRT, these, that, there is no one source as of right now which can cover all art and culture in one area. For CCRT, you would have to go to 5 different websites. NCRT covers only very specific things. So be very clear, should you throw and burn Nitin Singhania? No. Nitin Singhania, you don't do in the first instance. You do it in the way of revision. My book has ancient medieval art and ancient medieval and modern. I'm in the process of writing an art and culture book. Because if I make it art and culture, it would become a 1,000-page book. My book, which is UGC Net Paper 2, has ancient medieval modern. It does not have art and culture, because art and culture book in itself is at least 500 pages. So be very clear, maybe within a year, you would have a solution for that also. But as of right now, there is no other alternative, unfortunately, to Nitin Singhania. I know because I have written the book, so I will know that if art and culture is there or not. It isn't. For the same reason, in my book, Bhakti Sufi is not there. Because Bhakti Sufi is pure art and culture. You can use it for history optional, you can use it for ancient, medieval, modern, you can use it for anything. NET, UPSC, PCS examination, SSC, anything. But art and culture, there is no alternative. Now, see, these are the 2 books which are mostly referred to and preferred. One, the Nitin Singhania, be it 4th, 5th, 6th edition, whatever you have. As it is, he just adds 2 chapters and makes a new edition unnecessarily. And there are multiple mistakes in the book which I can also vouch for. And then there is this first part 1 NCRT Fine Arts, class 11th. But the problem is this is not written from a UPSC perspective, but from a fine arts perspective. So there's too much detail. So my basic argument to you is, if this book's, Nitin Singhania is bulky, can't do anything about it. Lakshmikant is also bulky. So don't do this. This social exclusionary practice which you do, Lakshmikant is equally bulky as Nitin Singhania. So don't do that. Sir, बहुत मोटी book है, तो सब books मोटी होती है. So understand one thing. PPT, you have to learn with me in class. PPT will help you in learning most of it. I have changed the strategy. I will tell you what is the problem in this Singhania. That is why it seems bulky. But I want you to revise from Nitin Singhania. Not learn, but revise. And I will tell you which chapters you can leave. For example, circus, cinema and all, you don't need to worry about. Now, the second point is, the reason why Nitin Singhania seems to be so difficult is because his problem is that he's gone thematically. Like, for example, he will start art and culture. His first chapter is 95 pages. That is the only bulky part. In his first chapter, which is art, architecture, sculpture, and pottery, what he's done is that he's mixed up everything together. And that is why, and the biggest problem is you don't know ancient, so as it will not make sense. Because he will say Pallavan art, Mahendra Varman section, Narsim Varman Rajsimha phase. You have no idea who is Rajsimha. So I will presume that you know ancient medieval timeline, you know everything I've already taught you. And with that knowledge, this book starts to make sense. But I don't teach like that. I don't actually go like this. See, there are 10 modules which we have to cover. There are 10 modules. And in those 10 modules, if you don't even have Nitin Singhania, it will suffice. If you don't have Nitin Singhania, you don't have to die. The simple point is, see, I will start by first 4 thematics are heavy. First 4 thematics are heavy. When we go through it is too much information. हाँ ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, solve कर देंगे. ठीक, we can do Nitin Singhania bashing as much as you want. You can say that he is a anti-student, whatever you want to say. But that book is necessary, cannot remove it. That is the problem. Now, first 4 thematics are heavy. One is architecture. The other one is sculpture. Then painting. And thereafter dances. Now, first is divided into 2. Art and architecture, ancient and early medieval, which is still temple architecture. And second is from temple architecture till modern architecture, including Indo-Islamic. Now, what I do is I start every module at a different point, and I'm not trying to teach you everything once. Meaning, if I'm discussing Indus Valley Civilization with you, architecture, I will only discuss architecture. When I will go to the sculpture chapter, I will discuss sculpture. When I will go to the painting part, I will discuss painting. I'm not going to go do like this, that I'm teaching you Indus Valley. So Indus Valley architecture, sculpture, painting, everything one place. No. Same would be true for example, Mauryas. Mauryas, we will do pillar separately, cave separately, cave painting separately. Why? Because I want to create a certain image in your mind, wherein every art form is evolving. And that evolution can only come through if you understand everything in a gradation, in continuity. Because if I teach you architecture and then I stop and start to teach you sculpture and then start to teach you pottery, and then it will make no sense. Literally make no sense. So the way I teach is different, first. Second is, after the first module, 4 modules, it becomes easier. We have theater, martial arts, and what students do is they judge art and culture from the wrong angle. There's one art and culture, which is, for example, architecture, painting, sculpture, dances, 6 schools of philosophy, numismatics, foreign travelers. These are the core areas out of which main questions are made. But what student will do? He will go and start to learn folk art. Aata jata kuch nahi hai. Folk art I will learn. Then I will learn folk music. And what is the folk music? 150 plus list. The factual part, if you go by it, theater, martial art, puppetry, UNESCO, intangible, tangible, tangible and intangible, awards, culture institutions, GI and all, are very small topics. Maximum facts would be 50. Folk art, folk music is not to be done in the first instance. That is something you do, for example, for your interview. Which state you go from, folk art, folk music becomes important. Anything else I will also cover. But the simple point of the matter remains is that students see the factual part and judge art and culture and don't actually think of art and culture in the way they should. So there's a way we will cover it. Once I've covered it, I will tell you when to pick up Nitin Singhania. Don't be over smart and first say, sir, it is very heavy. No, I have not asked you to read Nitin Singhania right now. Once I will be able to cover it, then only I will go forward. First thing. Second thing is the key to art and culture. And the key to art and culture and history itself is, I am not teaching you the history of China or art and culture of China. Unfortunately, I have to say this to you. This is your history. And this is your art and culture. You may know more about K-pop culture, the Marvel universe and DC, but you have no idea about your own culture. And this is the unfortunate part where I have to tell you, learn your own culture first. Second thing is, sir, it is very boring. Interest nahi aata hai. अरे अपने ही मेरे interest nahi aa raha. Why? Unfortunately, because this is the unfortunate truth that an Indian today, if you are not studying for UPSC, if I ask you name of 5 martial arts, you will rather remember the name of 5 random characters from any random soap opera than to remember 5 martial arts of your own country. We all call ourselves Indian, but we have no idea what is India. And as it is, when I will start to teach, half of you will start to act like Americans. Acha? Maybe. So this is also part of our culture. What is dome? What is this rock, mountain? ये भी होता है. So I know what is going to happen. You will act like you've never seen anything. And that is true. You've not seen anything. So it is unfortunate. So the point that it is boring, it is heavy, everything is boring, everything is heavy. The difference is interest. If you can generate interest in art and culture, you will start to enjoy it. I will keep it as visual as possible. We'll be listening to music wherever needed. We'll be listening to certain UNESCO intangible heritages. I'll try to do everything visually. But the simple point is, interest still has to be generated by you. It will not come from somewhere else. So do not give me any form of excuse that I'm finding this. If you really find it, then you are trying to be an Indian Administrative Service officer, and that is why UPSC is asking you this also. If UPSC is necessary, then art and culture is must. Unfortunately, that is the point. Art and culture, Nitin Singhania, people believe is like a burden on them. Kalripat, Thangta, Chao, Khalsa. Maybe if right, sir. Pratibha, still wrong. Kalripat is, Thangta is, Chao is a dance, theatre form. Khalsa is nothing. Khalsa is just the cult. Is the paramilitary wing. So Google to ठीक से करो भाई. At least Google properly. And if you're saying it out of your own memory, you actually don't know. That is the basic point. So I'm telling you, point-wise writing and images makes the book bulky. I believe it is less words. That does not matter. If Nitin Singhania had written that book properly, then the issue should not be there only. He keeps on doing that in that sense. Okay. You didn't Google it, Pratibha, very good. But your memory did not suffice here. Kalripat, only 2 of them are. Thangta and that. Still 2 more than anyone else in the class. Okay. Simple point. We start art and culture after this break. I start with Indus Valley Civilization salient features. Fortunately, you know that already. Thereafter, second is the fact that there is only one book. NCRT, Nitin Singhania, other websites, everything is here. PPT should be enough. From Stone Age, Kumar, don't tell me where to start from. Don't worry about that. Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, there's no architecture. So don't worry. Now, first thing, this, which is book. Second thing, art and culture have to create an interest. Third, don't worry, it should not be a problem by the end of it. I will bring Nitin Singhania in class. I will show you what chapters we've covered, what we have left, and what should be left. That you don't have to worry. So, straightforward. Your book is enough instead of reading Nitin Singhania. Pavitra, you're not listening to me. I said my book only has ancient, medieval, modern. Art and culture is a next book I'm writing. It is in the process, but it will take time. So please be clear. Yes, Sonu, you can use it. So please be clear. My book, I'm already telling you this, is only ancient, medieval, and modern. That is why it says UGC Net History. Art and culture is always a separate book. So don't worry about it. Can I take a break here? We come back and start